Yep.
Okay, today is Tuesday, June 17th, 9 a.m. This is a meeting of the Acushnet Board of Selectmen. We have a fairly brief agenda this morning. We have a 2-item agenda as far as I know. Could I get a motion to open the meeting and to accept the consent agenda dated June 17th, 2020, please?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. My first item on the agenda under old business is discussion of town meeting quorum change, review of matters presented, votes may be taken. So, you know, basically town meeting is on Saturday, and given the circumstances, the town's typical quorum would be 75 people, but we've been given, you know, given the circumstances and under emergency authority, we've been given the ability to change that quorum to something that allows us to get the business of the town done. And through previous actions, we've pulled anything off that agenda that would be considered controversial. So we've got a very straightforward agenda, just routine business matters of the town. The budget's one of those. But you know, other than that, routine budget routine matters of the town that we need to move forward. But the issue is there's a real concern that we may not be able to get 75 people to town meeting on Saturday. So we do have the flexibility to reduce the current quorum from 75 people to something that's going to allow us to accomplish that meeting. And I guess, gentlemen, any suggestion as to what that number should be?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. DeRoche.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspar. Well, I would vote to go the minimum. I mean, there's no, in my opinion, if we go 20 or we go 10, it makes no difference. If the state's allowing us to go as low as 10% of what our normal quorum would be, I would take advantage of that opportunity and go from there and just guarantee that between the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, we're going to have the quorum.
Yep. Mr. Gasper, any comments on that?
No, it's basically what I stated, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting. Just lowered it to as lowest threshold as we can. And if the more people come, the more people come. We would hope that we have more people, but if we don't, we need an operating budget for next year. So I agree with Mr. DeRoche. I make a motion to make the town meeting quorum at 10.
Mr. DeRoche, second.
I'll second that motion.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, quorum's 10 people. Shame on us if we can't get 10 people in that room this coming Saturday, but all right. Next item, Mr. Menard's coming in to talk about his plan of summer activities, summer work schedule, and the work you're hoping to accomplish over the coming summer months. So, Mr. Menard, you are muted, so we gotta get that released. There we go. There you go.
Hello, you get me?
Good morning, Mr. Menard.
Morning.
Morning, Dan.
Morning. I gave you guys the list. Them are the summer projects we're looking to try to go forward with. I realize the budget's probably not going to allow me to do the whole project. One of the ones I'd kind of like to finish up was the Mendel Road first phase of it, which was upgrading the drainage on the bottom half of Mendel, because the top half is really the problem. Again, like I said, I got the figures and all that for how much everything's going to cost on, you know, like to finish up what I have. I need 160 feet of pipe, 24-inch pipe, and I need stone and cement and some manhole grates, top catch basin grates. It's roughly around $9,000 just to finish for materials that 717 feet I got to do. I already have a bunch of manholes and pipe at the yard already that I've got out of last year's budget. I've been, you know, picking away at buying materials for this job. So that's what's going to take to finish that one.
Could I just review the list, Mr. Menard? I do have the list in front of me.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the others have. Let me just go through it. Line painting, it says hired out of fiscal 21 budget.
Yep.
So that's next year. Catch basin cleaning, also hired out of the 21 budget. So those are all next
Correct.
budget
Yep.
line items. Finish first phase of drainage on Mendel Road and hopefully start second phase out of, again, next year's budget.
Yep.
And patching Sears Lane out of road repair article. I think Sears Lane was voted by this body already, so I think that's done, and we've given you the authority to do that. So I
Actually,
think.
I'm sorry. That
Go ahead,
that
Mr.
one I
Mahoney.
started actually saw cutting already, Roger. So we're
You
gonna
did,
probably do
okay,
that
yeah,
next
we
week.
voted that, we gave you the authority to do that one, so you're good on that. The others, I think, are catch basin, I know is fairly routine. I don't know that that's optional for us. I think we've got to keep the catch basins clean, and you know, so I guess Mendel Road's really the project we should do most of our talking about.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Gasper, go.
I'd like to talk about all of his, the Sears Lane is something, you're right, Mr. Chairman, that we approved, but I'd like to know what the costs are associated with line painting, because we've reduced the DPW road materials, and that's the line item Mr. Menard intends on spending out of. And we only have, I think Mr. Menard told me this morning, $90,000. We reduced it. Normally he operates out of 125,000. So I'm concerned with his budget this year on what projects we're going to be getting accomplished this year. So I would like to know what the expenditure, what he's looking at for line painting, and how much line painting are we doing for that amount of money. So Mr. Menard, if we start off with line painting,
Okay.
what line painting are we doing? We doing the whole town? We doing certain roads? And how much do you think line painting, how much are you requesting for line painting?
I have last year's in front of me, Kevin. And between the line painting and catch basin cleaning, it was $31,084 last year. And that's doing the whole town. Why we do the whole town? Because we're using water-based paint instead of thermoplastic, which is good for 5 years. But instead of less than a half a cent a foot, it costs you 70 cents a foot to do, you know, the thermoplastic. So we just kind of do it every year. It wears out, and we've been doing it every year.
So that's the whole town, wherever we have the, what they call fog lines
Correct. Well,
In-
yeah,
in the-
it's the whole town.
and a
Every
center
street that
line.
was line painted on, not.
How much is line painting? Because we got three projects here, and I'm concerned, and I don't want to expend all $90,000 and without the board having any flexibility throughout the year to be able to continue doing any other projects. So we can't just blow out the whole road material line item.
Okay,
Um,
the catch basins was 11,000 out of that, so it's roughly 20 to do the whole town in line painting. But that's including the fog lines, which the board
Okay.
voted on last year, I think, for doing the fog
And
lines.
you said about catch basin cleaning. How much to do the whole town on catch basin cleaning?
That was 11,000.
So we did catch basin cleaning. You took money out of the road material article, and you spent $11,583 in November of 2019, which was basically 6-7 months ago. Why are we doing catch basin cleaning again for another $12,000 in 6 months?
No, it's not going to be 6 months. It'll be in the fall. We do them every year. It's once a year we do them. Some towns do them twice a year, Kevin. We only do them once.
Okay, so you're spending $12,000 a year for catch basin cleaning. That does the whole town, Dan?
Correct.
Every
we gotta
catch basin every catch basin we have.
Correct. We have like a little over 1,000 basins.
Yeah, I know there's a lot. I was looking at a stormwater drainage map.
Yep.
So, Dan, I'm concerned about blowing $30,000 to do some line painting and catch base cleaning right now. With you only having $90,000, I mean, that's going to take us down to 60 real quick, and 60 doesn't go very far with other projects that the board may have, would like to see done over the next year with your operating budget. So is there anything we can do to minimize that cost? Maybe not do as much line painting, in other words, maybe do 500 catch basins instead of 1,000 catch basins, and reduce it. Take that number from 30 to 15. Is that something that maybe we only do line painting on main roads and we're not doing it on some of the side roads, Dan? I don't know. I'm looking for recommendations because you have a much smaller budget this year. We reduced you reduced the road material in the request of a 10% cut, but you reduced it by 30-40% on road material. So we're going to be working with nothing really.
Yeah. I mean,
We don't know what projects are going to come up. If things come up, we ain't going to have no money to do anything, Mr. Chairman, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be left with 60 grand left, because 60 grand with road materials don't go very far. You already just seen how fast we could spend 30 grand to do road painting, line painting, and catch basin cleaning. So I'm a little concerned about that, taking that number down just to do those two things.
Mr. Menard, could you comment on it? Does the ability exist to, I mean, it feels like catch basins should be cleaned. I mean, but I mean, the line painting sounds like an area that potentially we could, there could be some savings. But why don't you go? Why don't you respond to Mr. Gasper's point?
Yeah, I mean, line painting, again, if we didn't do the fog lines and we just did the yellow lines, again, that's another safety issue. And we only do the main drags. We do not do, there's no other side streets. It's Middle Road, Main Street, Lake Street, Mendel, Hathaway, Perry Hill, Nye Lane. It's basically just all that, and the stop lines get done and crosswalks get done at the same. That's all part of the line painting. So, I mean, some of the crosswalks, I mean, I guess if they're not that faded or whatever, I can go around and assess which ones are worse than others and maybe save some money that way. That's what the board wants.
Mr. DeRoche.
Thank you. Mr. Menard, I think Hathaway Road is an exception. We need to do that. I've received different texts and comments on when is that going to get done. And the fog lines are important there because those telephone poles, when they paved it, they put the pavement right up to the telephone poles. It's almost like you're driving into the poles, especially where it halfway down Hathaway, if heading toward town, the road takes a little jog.
Are the fog lines the sidelines? Just
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
You know, so I would, recommend that in your consideration, we keep Hathaway Road with fog lines and the center line. Other roads, that's to be determined by, yourself, DPW, and go from there to save some money.
No, that's correct. What happened with that, the pavement got done at the end of the year and they couldn't line paint that before the end. It was already too late in the season for them to paint it. So I definitely agree that one has to be painted, both fog and, but the rest of the town that's already has it might not need to be, maybe just the center lines and not the fog. But that one definitely, because that one didn't get none at all.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion now, Mr. Menard, line paint Hathaway Road, seeing how it's just been repaved, and the board in the future can revisit line painting out of the budget? It's not something that needs to be done today.
Second, Mr. DeRoche.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
So are you suggesting we hold off on line painting for the time being?
Yeah, we'll just, I'll talk to Dan and work with Dan. We'll take a look at what's going on. We're going to take, I'd like to take a different approach than what we have in the past. I mean, Dan and I were having a little conversation about that road material article with all the money that's been expended out of it and stuff like that. I think this board needs to get control of what's going on and what projects we're doing. We're not aware of some of these things that are going on, and I think it's important that the board is, and we're endorsing the projects that Mr. Menard's doing. He's doing a lot of good work out there, but we need to be educated on what's going on. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing when people, I went out to that resident, we'll talk about Mendel Road, the storm drain next. Catch bases, Mr. Menard, you can spend the 12 grand, and I'll make a motion to have Mr. Menard spend the 12 grand. It's no big deal. It's going to be probably done in the fall, right, Mr. Menard?
What's that?
Catch basin.
Catch basin.
Yes, correct.
Is that a $12,000 line? That's a $12,000 number?
That's about what we spent last year.
11,000 last year, yeah.
$11,583 what was appropriated out of that road material budget line item that we approved for road paving, Mr. Cabral. So,
Will you second that, Mr. DeRoche?
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So go on the draining. How much does the street painting cost, Mr. Menard?
I'm sorry?
What do we spend on line painting?
It was like 20,000 last year to do the entire thing. That's with fog lines and everything.
Okay. I think, and fine with the Hathaway Road, I think we need an assessment of how, we do it routinely every year. I think we need an assessment of how critical it is that we do it this year.
Right.
It just feels like something we should be doing on a regular basis, but I can't say that I'm that aware of the condition of the lines currently. It's not something I've really looked at. So, but it feels like for public safety, we should be painting those lines on a regular basis. But I say I would be fine with Hathaway Road right now, and let's revisit the rest of it. But it just feels like from a maintenance perspective, that's something we should be doing. Whether it's annually or every other year, I don't know. But
Right. That's what we're going to look at, Mr. Chairman.
When I drive home, I'll be more conscious of the condition of the road line. So let's hold that for a future time. Why don't we talk about Mendel Road? And Mr. DeRoche, did you want to comment?
Well, you're bringing me into my question. I had a question for Mr. Menard. How did this Mendel Road situation develop over the years? Is this from development on Mendel Road, drainage onto the street?
This, David, was a problem from when I started here. The water actually comes right out of the hill where the fire tower is over there.
Yeah.
In the winter, it sheets across the road. We're constantly sanding that.
Mm-hmm.
There was some drainage done by the previous directors, I guess, over there, and they didn't do nothing. It was just down the bottom. And right now I've been working on like engineering and stuff to get the plans for the design of it. And we want to get in the bottom half designed. And actually I got the plan for the second half designed. And it's already been, well, that part hasn't been through conservation yet. I still got to get the top half through conservation. And that's where it is. It's kind of just a safety hazard, and we're always out there with the sanders every year. And a culvert was filled in near the apple orchard. I don't know how that happened or what happened, but that's been there since I've been here. So it was prior to me anyways.
And there are pictures that have been distributed. Gentlemen, have you seen the pictures on Google?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Gasper. I'm
I went out
pulling it up
last
now,
night
looking
and
at it.
I spoke to that resident, Mr. Nelson. He's a young gentleman. He was out in the yard, and I went out to take a look at that area over there where Mr. Menard cut across the street and put in a 24-inch pipe. If I'm correct, Mr. Menard, it's a 24-inch pipe.
Yep, that's
And I talked to that resident, and he's putting up a chain link, a little fence going across the front of his property. He's left it opened up right now for Dan to continue. It's about 100 feet. There's 3 catch basins, and as Mr. Menard alluded to, I don't really think that they're going anywhere for drainage to occur. It looks like it's
It doesn't look like they're working.
like there's a little hole in the ground, and it just bubbles back up, and it's got nowhere to go. Mr. Menard's already done some work out there. On that little area where the high tension lines are, in that resident that sent us a letter, there's 3 catch basins, but they ain't doing anything.
I'm looking at a video of one right now. The water skipping right around it.
Yeah, so I was there, and it's the ground's settled around wherever those old drains are bent, and they need to be moved. And Dan knows where they need to be moved to better ground, lower ground, so that it actually catches the water and does its job as a catch basin. That's hence the word catch basin. So, I'm all right with Mr. Menard. I mean, I know he's talking about a second phase. I think the board needs, when we go back to having regular meetings, which will be soon in-house, Mr. Menard can come in, or we can go, Mr. DeRoche and myself. No disrespect to you, Mr. Chairman, but you're not going to be here after another 2 weeks. So we can get together with Mr. Menard and look at this project, because we've never been updated on what this project consists of, the costs associated with this process. So I'm okay with making, Dan, I just got a question for Dan. You got a lot of drain pipe in the yard. I was assuming that was all from Mendel Road. You spent a good amount of money on pipes, $10,404 out of that road material article. Pipes and catch basins, I would imagine. It says pipes from that company. I think it's Atlantic. But is that piping all meant, that's at the town garage, is that piping all meant for Mendel Road project?
Yeah, that's only for the first phase of Mendel. That's for the 717 feet I have to do over there. Like I said, we just started it, but where I've got the new plan for the other section, the guy wanted me to upgrade the first 160 feet to more. The first engineer gave me 18-inch to Garrison Street, and now he told me I should upgrade that first 160 feet to the 24-inch. That's why I was coming to the board. I have to get the 160 feet of 24-inch more to finish up to Garrison Road. I do have all the rest of the stuff. I do have all the basins. I do have.
It's a quarter mile from that high tension line where you started and cut across the road to Garrison Lane.
Correct.
That's a quarter mile. You don't have enough pipe in that yard to do that strip?
No.
No. Oh. So I was, you know, I don't understand the project. That's the problem, Dan, is I don't think the board understands the project with all this. And I talked to the chief about it, and there hasn't been any accidents up there, but I understand that curve where we're at the high tension lines where you started doing that work and cut the road across, that road gets flooded out over there and it's a curve. So that is dangerous at the bottom of the hill. I mean, that's 2021 budget again, Mr. Chairman. We have time to work on this, and Dan's not going to be up at the north side. He's got enough pipe to run to Garrison Lane. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
That's a quarter mile of. We don't need to be doing this today, Mr. Chairman, is what I'm saying. I mean, we can let Dan do from the high tension lines to Garrison Lane. That's a quarter mile of drainage, and I personally, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, would have Mr. Menard come in and explain to the board what we're doing out on Mendel Road, how much more money we need to be spending on there. And again, I don't think that we have a lot of money in that road material budget. I think we can get a lot accomplished for Mendel Road residents from Garrison Lane down to the high tension lines. And maybe we're not going to do any more of it for this year, but maybe next year when we get more money or an article, we go to fall town meeting, we can make an appropriation. But I'd rather not be depleting Mr. Menard's road material budget just for one project.
How much are you, so we're gonna go ahead with, how much more money do you need, Mr. Menard? You
Just to finish up to, was $9,000 just to finish up to, Garrison. I got everything else, but that's for the stone and the extra 160 feet of pipe. It's $22.50 a foot. So it's $3,600 just for 160 feet of pipe, you know? So then it's stone. I need, you know, like 10 loads of stone to get that 717.
And you feel that this project's a priority?
Well,
I've seen the pictures. So I mean, I'll you know, why wouldn't, this is a priority project for the Department of Public Works. I mean, it just feels like something, I've seen the pictures. It just feels like something that we should do. Why, you know, they're on Mendel Road, they're working, they're heading down the road. It just feels like it would be more efficient to spend a little bit more money and just get it done right. And I don't know anything at all about drainage. Obviously, I don't know what fog lines are, but, you know, it would seem that our Department of Public Works has identified a project that needs to be done. It's $9,000. You know, I agreed we need to save money for other things to be identified, but we've got in front of us a project that our Department of Public Works feels like they need to do. Why not do it? And
Roger.
Again,
I just spoke to Mr. Menard right in front of your eyes, and I said up to Garrison Lane, and that's what Mr. Menard's proposing right now.
But I thought he was saying he wanted to finish the project, and that was another $9,000. So maybe I'm confused about.
Mr. Menard, that was for the upgrade of the pipe from 18-inch to 24-inch, correct?
Correct. Yep. And that's just
so you're asking for $9,000 more dollars from the fiscal to spend from the fiscal 21 budget. $9,000 to do up to Garrison Lane. That's what you're considering first phase, Mr. Menard?
Correct. Yep.
So that's what I just thought. That's what I just talked about, Roger.
Okay.
I'm
confused.
From Garrison Lane, see, this is the problem with the planning board, and I'll talk to Mr. Menard about this. I think this is a discussion that's well warranted. Is when developments go in, and Garrison Lane's been there for a while, but there's a drainage pond, detention pond at the bottom of Garrison Lane that's never been maintained. Is that correct, Mr. Menard?
Well, we've done some work on that as well since I've been here. Might have been when I first started. We had to actually put some new basins in at the end of Garrison, and we actually cleaned that pond out once.
So what happens is when developers come in, they do it, they design it, and they say, okay, see you later, have a nice day. But then the town's responsible for it, but we're really not responsible for it because that's not part of the acceptance of the road. And yet the townspeople are getting stuck with doing this and spending this money now, but freaking detention ponds from developers that didn't do their job and didn't have a plan in place. So I think planning's got to get involved with that and saying, hey, either we're going to be accepting detention ponds as part of the road layout, or we're not, and the planning board's gonna put a bond in place, something, and make them responsible to be, somebody responsible for cleaning out detention ponds, and not the DPW. The DPW's been doing a lot of detention pond work. They do great work, but should we be spending $5,000-10,000 to be cleaning out detention ponds that the town don't own?
Who should be responsible? The neighbors?
The developer.
Forever?
That's a conversation to have with the planning board. I mean, what do we? They put in developments in that road. Garrison's dumping a lot of that water that Mr. Menard's trying to take care of on Mendel Road. I mean, that road's been country drainage for 160 years. We never had a problem. We start doing development, now we have problems.
Yeah, I think what we got to do is we got to make sure the detention ponds are designed right and designed to last and built appropriately. A developer can't be responsible for. Eventually, it's got to either come over to the town, or the community needs to start a neighborhood association, and as part of that neighborhood association, create a fund where they're responsible for taking care of the detention ponds and facilities like that in the neighborhood. But we can't. Not a discussion for now, certainly, but it's either got to be the neighbors or it's got to be the town. The developer can't be responsible forever. But
or Roger, maybe a good idea is for Mr. Menard to go, when he looks at these plans for roads, the requirements for the roads and the detention ponds, maybe Mr. Menard makes recommendations now to the planning board and says, well, there's a stormwater drain a half a mile down the road. The developer is responsible to be putting these stormwater drains and this drainage in if you want the development to go in, and we're not doing it.
Yep, absolutely. No, we should be. I mean, we should, if to the extent a new development has an impact on the nearby roadway, or drains into the nearby roadway,
Right.
or additional catch basins are required as a result of that development, we should absolutely put that on the developer. Yeah,
Absolutely.
agreed. So back to Mendel Road, Mr. Menard. So we've approved what you want to do on Mendel Road. Is that what I'm hearing, or do you feel we should be doing more than you?
Well, no,
You should be doing more than we're giving you.
Well, like I said, I have the plan now for phase 2, which it hasn't been approved through conservation yet. I still got to go through conservation on that.
Okay, so there's some work that
Phase 2
needs to be done. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Menard, finish up the work. He's got a lot of work out there to do. Finish up the work up to Garrison Lane. Mr. Menard, that's like your first phase thing, right?
That's correct.
And then we can go, he's got to go in front of conservation. He's going to come in front of the Board of Selectmen. We'll review what's phase 2 and what the costs are associated to that. And we'll determine a time frame when that's going to be completed. But I think getting from Garrison Lane down to the high tension lines, it's a quarter mile of storm drains. I think that's going to take care of, I would have to say 80% of the water problem that's down there. Well, that's on a hill anyway, so it's all going to run down to that high tension line area anyway. That's why that high tension line area is such a freaking mess, is because there's a lot of Cape Cod berms that keep the water from going in and doing the country drainage, and it's going down to that one spot, and that area is just getting swamped. It's a bad design to start, Roger, and Dan's going to get out there and fix it. So he's got a quarter mile of road.
Is that plan acceptable, Mr. Menard?
I'm sorry?
That plan's acceptable? You think that's a good
Yes.
course of action? Yep, okay.
Yes. Yep.
So Mr. Gasper made a motion. Could I get a second on the motion to complete the project through Garrison?
I'll second the motion to approve.
Second,
the
Mr.
funds.
DeRoche. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so Mr. Menard, just in summary, catch basin cleaning is a go. Line painting at this point limited to the Hathaway Road, and it's come back to the board with other areas you feel, and let's, all of us as we drive around, let's look at the condition of the lines, and maybe we can get back to Mr. Menard with other areas of concern. That's done. Drainage on Mendel Road to Garrison and Sears Lane, again, previously approved. So anything else we need to discuss, Mr. Menard? Mr. DeRoche?
I just like to ask Mr. Menard, is there any intention this summer of putting the docks back in at Lake Street, or is that going to be out? I saw you filled in or did some improvement to the entrance to those, to the parking lots, which helps people from bottoming out over there, but been asked if they're going to put the docks in this year.
Yes, I'll be putting the docks in this year, and we got to do a little grading on the parking lot that gets, wrecked every year. Yes, we will. The COVID-19, we're off and on with the guys, and I just didn't have the manpower to put them in. That's why they haven't been done.
Oh, I understand that. I understand completely.
One other question while we got you. Bulky item pickup, any sense as to when we can reschedule that?
To me, that I can.
That's you, Mr. Menard, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. I just gotta check in with, CMAS and make sure it's, fits on theirs. It's up to the board. The board's, ready to go. We're ready to go.
I
We
think
got
the
our
board's
trash
ready to
trucks.
go.
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
yeah,
don't
well,
let me
what
speak to you all.
board? What board are you talking about? The Board of
I
Health?
think
or the
us,
Board of
hopefully us.
Selectmen? That's my question concerning that, you know. And also my inkling from your question, Mr. Chairman, is that it's not going to happen until later in the year. But, you know, it would be good to talk to Mr. Menard, talk to Kathy, and talk to CMAS and see all of that. Because I know CMAS was supposed to go down for a few weekends for maintenance and then just in general, all the other things that need to be arranged for it. So.
Any sense as to when that's possible, Mr. Menard? I mean, is this a June, July, or July, August, or is this
Again,
November, December? I mean, what,
I don't
any
have,
sense?
I don't know, like I said, with the Board of Health might be one, so again, you know, as far as lining up, CMAS, I don't think that's a big deal. Like you said, they do shut down, you know, I think it's in the July timeframe
Mhm.
to do work on the
Okay.
plant.
So we wouldn't be able to do a bulky item pickup in July, you're saying? We'd have to, it'd be put after that.
I mean, I could check with them, Roger, and find out. when
Yeah,
they're-
I
when
mean,
they're
I
doing
think,
that.
I think we should. I think,
Okay.
you know, that there was a lot of anticipation that it was going to happen, and
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of people, and me included, that took actions based on the assumption that it would happen. And so I think we owe it to our residents to deliver what we promised to them. And I think there's a, you know, consensus of this board. I think everyone wants bulky item pickup to happen. So I don't think I'm speaking as just me. I think everyone on this board wants to see that happen. So please
Mr.
explore
Chairman,
when it's
Mr.
possible.
Chairman.
Mr. Gasper, go.
Bulky item will happen one way or another. You can rest assured of that.
Right.
So-
I concur with this assessment. I agree with the gentleman that we should proceed with it. Just a matter of rescheduling again that works.
We'll figure it out. We know it's not going to happen in July, so we have some time to work with Dan and Kathy. They can call over to CMAS, figure out what the schedule is, and then we got to work around Dan's schedule, because if he's going to be out on Mendel Road doing projects, we don't want to be having him start a project out there and then he's got to go out and do bulky items. So we'll schedule Mr. Menard and the crew to figure out when we're going to do that. It'll happen. It's just we don't know yet when it'll happen, and I'll work with Mr. Correa to make sure that it can happen, and we'll work with the Board of Health to make sure everything's copacetic with them, so we're not in the same scenario in 2 months from now. But it will happen.
Okay. Moving ahead, next meeting is Tuesday, June 23rd at 5 p.m. Any other?
Town meeting is Saturday. This Saturday.
Town meeting is this Saturday at 10 o'clock?
10
Okay.
o'clock? Yeah.
10 o'clock?
Miss
I
Hebert-
suspect
Miss
that's going to move. I suspect that's going to move quickly.
Ms. Hebert, you have packets for the Board of Selectmen with motions?
Yeah, I'll have it for you.
So that's a no right now?
No, she has. She's got it.
Yeah, I have the motions. I'm just waiting. Town council should be getting back to me this morning with any edits on them. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay. It's at town council then?
Yeah.
Okay, so probably by tomorrow we'll have them?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Definitely by Saturday, right?
Definitely by Saturday. Anything else, gentlemen?
Motion
Ladies
to
and
adjourn.
gentlemen. Ms. Hebert, anything? No? Okay.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
Motion
second.
second. All right, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
thank you.